Good afternoon, everyone. It is August 20th, 2023, and before we actually get into what we had this week and all that, this past week, uh, I want to just start off with the note that we have a ton of news hitting the tape this week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, nothing of, super huge importance. Thursday, though, Jackson Hole Day 1, Friday, Jackson Hole Day 2, Thursday as well. Harker at noon. Friday, you have him on pre-market and at the open, and then J Pow 30 minutes into the open. So to me, Friday is going to be largely a write-off. This week is going to be a write-off in terms of any sort of swing ideas. Last week I was talking about how you could short or grab a put off 4501, roughly those Monday RTH highs. I wouldn't be thinking of doing any sort of swing stuff for this week. I think it's going to be a lot more complicated. So I just wanted to start off with that. Let's go to our large time frame view here. Let's take off that indicator. Let's just talk about this for a second. We had a massive weekly range this week. What was that? 45.15 or so, 45.17 3/4 down to 50 flat, 170 point range roughly. That is one of the largest point ranges we've had in a while. Right off the bat, we never got above last week's VWAP close. That ended up being roughly the high of the week. We didn't get over half back. That was the same number. But we are now firmly below that first half of the year's high at 44.84-ish, 84.85, whatever it is. We're under the first standard deviation of yearly VWAP. You can see that there at 43.99 right now, pretty much where the high of this session came in on Friday. At the start of the month, I'd mentioned we'd lost that second standard deviation. We were going to have a shift in momentum, and you can see that here. We had this sideways trade, and then when we broke down below, it's saying maybe we can salvage it at that first deviation. Same thing on the Nasdaq over here. Same thing. Here's your first half of the year's highs. If we throw in the yearly VWAPs, you can see that we lost this first standard deviation over here. Same thing on the Nasdaq, by the way. Last week, we couldn't get over the halfback or the VWAP close from the week prior, and now once again we're firmly below that first half of the year's high. We're below that 331 area where we kept salvaging the bid, right around here. We're below all that crap, right? And if you wanted to make a little projection, you could see how, where the hell is this thing? You could see how you could make a little head and shoulders pattern if we are going to go lower. That's something, if you're into head and shoulders patterns, you could definitely see that playing out on both of these guys, right? Come down, something like that. Whoopsie. Uh, Something like that. So that is something I'm aware of. Let's get back into this. On the ES, what did we have last week? Let's go down into one smaller time frame over here. Let's take off all of this stuff and let's just look at it plain here. Monday, we salvaged the bid at the lows. Tuesday, from the overnight onwards, we just crapped out. We got below last week's low here at 44.59s on that Tuesday session, and we got below this kind of 65 to 85 balance, if you want to call it. Right around there, that sort of area, we finally got below this high time frame area, and that eventually led to losing the monthly low from July, the RTH low being around 44.19 or so. Dipped below that on the Wednesday session, ended up closing right around there actually, and then we kept trying to rally, I believe, on Thursday, unable to repeatedly as the Nasdaq was crapping out, and Apple, I believe, was also leading the sell-off there. Ended up liquidating downwards into this area. This has been an important area for me for a while, kind of something like this, kind of 80-ish to 90-ish, this sort of area. To me, if we were breaking this, we would get down to here, and that's what happened. We came down to 43.50s, and so this is how I'm looking at it now. Now, we did get a weekly POC shift down into the close. We did not on the Nasdaq, so the volume did not shift down. So evidence of some short covering on ES, not as much so on on the Nasdaq. So what I'm looking for this week is this. So I doubt we make new lows on Monday. From about 30 minutes, in about 30 minutes, Globex will open up until Monday's close. I don't think that'll happen. So notably for when I say that. I don't think we're getting down to 27 or double O's tomorrow. So in general, I think we salvage this sort of area. Once you get above here, you can see how this was kind of the important balance here. You can see this balance roughly something like this, right? You can see how this is a balance. Here's another balance. Uh, if we're able to salvage this 43.85 number, and that also being where we closed the week, that's our weekly point of control, that's our weekly close, the first standard deviation of the weekly VWAP at 90 as well. If you can get into where the majority of that first standard deviation of VWAP, if you can get into where the majority of that your average individual's position is, otherwise known as the weekly VWAP, I think you'll just rotate back up to it. So that's trading at 44.34s. You have the half back at 29s on the week. Again, that monthly low at 19.5. You have all sorts of crap right around there. So this is going to be my pivot zone of interest. Ideally, shorts want to hold it here, and we can make new lows getting into that contract gap at 4,300 over here. If not, I think the longs start to get a little bit on side. You can see if shorts will re-engage around 64, but again, at this point, longs are not fully in control. We are back inside the July low of the month, and we're looking back up to here, back towards this sort of this balance that I was discussing earlier, this sort of thing. You're getting back into around here. You're getting near the other week prior low at 44.59 as well. So this ends up being, to me, sort of the last spot for shorts to really apply some sort of pressure. Above there, and you're getting to the balance highs at 44.84 to 45-ish. I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't even want to discuss anything above there. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't even think this will happen. I think for the most part, you'll be playing in something like this sort of range, which is a 200-point range. So really, I don't think you're going to get another expansion week. I think you're really going to be looking at playing it something like here, if not here. 4,300 to 4,450-ish, 4,440, let's call it, or maybe down to the lows of this little balance we had here. I think this is a 3 or 4 day balance, something like that. Going into a slightly higher time frame view, if we lose this contract gap around 4,300, if we lose it, I think you're playing with this zone here where we stayed offered so many times, where essentially the breakout bid was located. And you also have yearly VWAP sitting at 41.90ish. So you're playing with this. Below there, you're getting into some large liquidation scenarios. That's a major shift in high time frame momentum. You're going to have a lot of people offside above that 4,300 to 40, let's call it 4,200 area. You're going to have a ton of people offside who are trying to bid this thing up since June. Let's go over to the Nasdaq. 8 minutes in. Let's try and be quicker on this one. Just like how you had 4,300-ish held here, 4,270-ish, you've got the same thing happening here around 280s. That's where we had a really nice offer here back in 2022. You can see it there. If we lose this area, same idea. You're moving down to this high time frame pivot. You can see that's where it was a critical level. That's also where we had the breakout bid, and that's also where our yearly VWAP is sitting. Below kind of 13K, you're looking at the same idea as ES getting down below 4,100-ish, in that you're getting a large liquidation scenario, a major shift in high time frame momentum as you're then capped around here with this high once again. So I don't think that's going to happen this week. Let's get into this week. It's not looking too dissimilar from ES. The Nasdaq has fallen much more, much like how ES has 43.85 here during this time when we're holding here around mid-June. The Nasdaq has 15K. You can see that 43.85 on the ES was pretty much that's where we closed. Whereas on the Nasdaq, we closed way below that area. We closed at 750-ish. That area is up at 15K. So that's going to be my pivot. That is roughly the weekly VWAP close. That is roughly the weekly halfback at 940, 973 and 941 respectively. So oops, this should be moved then. My bad. There we go. Above there, And I think you have the same issue as you do on ES. You start to have longs get back on side as we re-enter last month's low at 15,063. You get back above that weekly point of control at 112. The longs start to get back on side, in other words. You're back above the volume, back inside last month's low. It's less. Shorts can still apply some sort of pressure, but I think it's kind of the last spot for them to do so, as then you get into this 342, 475, all that sort of stuff. I don't think that occurs, much like how ES, I don't think we play with above, I don't know, 75-ish. I don't think that's going to happen. I think in reality, you're going to be playing with something like this sort of range, whatever, what is this, 160-ish? I think you'll be playing with something like this sort of range. That is a 900-point range, so really you might just be playing with instead this sort of range, 750 points. Much like on ES, I don't think you break last week's low meaningfully tomorrow. I think instead what you should be looking for is some sort of rotation up to here early in the week, and then we see if sellers step in here or up here, and then we look for new lows on the month. Again, big news on Friday. Hard to really predict anything. We've had a large move. We've got longs who are offside, and I would emphasize taking this day by day, as the swing time frame is a little bit more unclear this week. Hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. I think I said everything I need to say. Let me get my notes out here. Yeah, we also where ES put in a low of the week is roughly the third negative standard deviation of last month's VWAP. NQ, on the other hand, that's at 840, and you can see that we fell about 240 points below there. So NQ, by all measures, is showing to be weaker during this. So a lot of news this week. I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you try and put together some good trades. Thursday and Friday, maybe be a little bit more careful. I will not be trading Friday. Have a great night. Trade safe. Daily update will be up later tonight. See you guys.